You ready to sabotage me, Gemma? Huh? I know you are. She waits so patiently every night so she can come sabotage. Okay, let's see what we got here tonight. Oh boy, oh boy. I'm hoping I can do a good one tonight because I'm traveling again tomorrow and I'll be gone for a week. So we got Sculptor. Okay. Off to a good start. City Street. Wow. And Forge. Oh, Forgetfulness. I just had that one. Sculptor. Absent-mindedness. Oh, no. Maybe I didn't. I had absent-mindedness, not forgetfulness. Okay, so we'll use that. I think what happened was I had absent-mindedness, but I actually inadvertently made it forgetfulness. So Sculptor. Let me make this a little more visible. City Street and forgetfulness. Okay. Well. Something is beginning to hash out. There is a firing of synapses in me brain, and it's time to turn on the. Here we go. Can we hear that? That's much better. Okay. I like to hear it so I know it's actually functioning. I forgot one night, and what I had to end up doing was I had to download from YouTube the entire hour-long live stream, which was a huge file. And then you got your dirty paws all over already. You didn't waste no time, Gemma. And then what I had to do was I had to use film editing software to compress an hour-long video down into time lapse. It's just much better to have actual time lapse footage. It's still a very large file size. When I shoot in 4K, which is what I'm doing right now, I got to frequently clean up the iPad because it uses so much storage space. It'll be over a gigabyte in the app that I'm using, which is called Stop Motion Studio. And then when I export the actual video saved as an MP4, it will be quite large as well, closer to like 700 megabytes, I think. Either way, uses up a lot of space. I'm still kind of unpacking from my road trip, but not taking some of this stuff with me on this next trip because I should have some stuff at my destination already. I'm going to go visit my parents for a week and install a generator for them. They had one of those epic winter losses of power, and they were without power for 72 hours. Fortunately, they had a fireplace. That's the only thing that kept them alive, basically, because the temperature was 17 degrees outside, and once the cold infiltrated the house, it got, it was just like living in a walk-in cooler, basically. So Let's see here. Oh, let's see. How do we do this? How do we do this? Come on, John. Hey, you troublemaker. The Thinker, the famous Thinker sculpture by Rodin, is a Mandela effect now. It's really one of them ones that's got me freaked out because when you think that you think you're living in a certain universe and you know that something is something, whatever that means. You're confident that the Volkswagen symbol, for instance, is continuous. It doesn't have a little break between the V and the W. It flows, aesthetically pleasing. And then you find out, nope, it's always had a break between the V and the W. And you're just like, what? Well, the Thinker is another one. It's like the Thinker's location of his fist. Some people remember it being on his forehead, and other people, like myself, remember it being more like on his jaw, right? Which makes more sense, actually. Not that any Mandela effect needs to make sense when it's just a bunch of mind effery. Maybe it's some MK Ultra nonsense meant to screw with our brains. Insane in the membrane. Insane in the brain. Next, they're going to say, oh, they never said that in the song. What? Dude. Lies, liars. Liars, pants on fires. The whole universe just seems to be constantly shifting and changing, which is interesting because when I was in my early 20s, I had an idea for a Star Trek episode that I thought would be really cool. And I mean, if I ever, got into the Hollywood system or filmmaking, and I knew people that were working on Star Trek, I would definitely pitch them this concept. But it's basically, this was going to be for Star Trek Next Generation, with Picard and Number One. They were going to be out in deep space on, just their regular patrol between points. And they were going to come upon, floating in the middle of nowhere, a Spanish galleon, right? And they're going to be like, what? What? And they're going to be like dead conquistadors floating around this Spanish galleon silently out in space. Just really cool imagery. But so then we get into the episode and we find out that the Earth, or that the universe, is constantly changing, and human perception is the key element. But basically what happens is the entity that we know as God, right, or some higher creator being, doesn't like it when humans become so arrogant that we think we know everything. So what happens is reality shifts during different eras of humanity. And so they discover that, and I don't know how this would be tied into like something that's actually watchable, because it's really just pure conceptual. It's, but they find out that, oh yeah, the Earth really was flat. And of course, right now, if there's any flat earthers watching, I'm sure they're getting their panties in a wad. Oh, it's all, it still is flat. What are you talking about? This guy's out of his mind. Well, yeah, okay. So I like the idea of the flat Earth movement, though, because it's exactly about that. It's about sending a message to the rest of our species that science is not an end all. It's not like, just because one scientist claims blah, 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 that doesn't mean it's necessarily an absolute. Generally speaking, we need multiple scientists to sort of confirm stuff before it's canonized into something that resembles a fact that you would find in a school history lesson book or whatever, or science book. So yeah, this Spanish galleon just floating out in space. I've always liked that image. It's all about the imagery, how you would turn it into something that's has action and sort of pathos and drama built in. Maybe there were other characters in that Star Trek universe. The character Q comes to mind. So the thinker was kind of squatting, right? He wasn't actually sitting, I don't think. It was more like a kind of a rock built into the, right?
This is kind of a weird assignment, this one. But I do have a cup of coffee here, so. So yeah, the generator I've got to install at my parents' house is hopefully to prevent them from having to go through that nightmare again of I need to be really thoughtful about, or conscious and conscientious of, trying to keep the line down to a minimum. So economy of line is like a real thing. Sometimes less is much, 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 much better. Betty Boop's in the way. Betty Boop. Because I think humans will generally tend to fill in the gaps. So what is not visible often our enemy kind of fill in. Oh, there we go. That's what I want right there. Yeah, so currently this is I'm like drawing like a pile of mud, basically. But if it looks like a turd, don't fall for that. I mean, piles of mud look like turds, right? So it's just a sad truth. I mean, I'd hate to be a pile of mud. And be falsely accused of being a turd, basically. So, again, this is, boy, these Gag Master challenges really are challenging because you're trying to make chicken salad out of chicken poo, basically.
Here comes the motorcycle mama. So it's not necessarily the artwork that I struggle with. It's trying to make something that's actually funny out of the prompts, the hand that you've been dealt, basically. Um, so in this case, the part that I'm kind of struggling with is I'm trying to simultaneously draw a cartoon while attempting to think up what my actual final punchline is going to be for the slot down here. Generally, that's how I've been doing most of these. Is I'll actually have an image, come in to my brain pretty quickly about what I should do as far as the drawing goes. So I'll just go ahead and hop right on it, right? No hesitation. But then I end up kind of stuck with a pile of poo. And now I've got to tie it all together somehow. Now, last night I got lucky. The key word that was escaping me last night was the word inferior. So I immediately kind of knew that that's too much. Okay. I was just talking about a kind, and then I go and put in way too much smoke. Whatever. Okay. So it must be no wind blowing on this night or something. But the key word last night was the word inferior. It was, the Gag Master challenge. I ended up with a judge last night, and loss of dignity. So the word inferior finally kind of pulled it all together. But this one, I have not yet had the epiphany moment, except to say that I do at least have the names of the streets. Which is, I think it's going to have to play some part in the final punchline. Running out of space as usual. One thing nice though about having the letter A next to the W is it always fits right in because the W shares the angle of the A. So it wasn't that nice when language was invented that they thought that through. Doubtful. Okay. I've got a bubble underneath this thing. I got to fix that, and I've also got a couple of things on this rubber surface mat that likes to cause me fits. So it's like the corner. We're at the corner of Mudway and Water Streets. Uh-oh. Is my iPad running out of space? Okay. Still thinking. Anybody in the chat have any ideas on what I can write? If nobody's watching and I truly am alone in this universe, then, well, that's kind of liberating. I didn't want to have to rely on anybody else anyway. Thanks for nothing. But, you know, if we can't humor ourselves, then what's the point of being here? Some days it's really tough to get out of bed in the morning, but I always think, well, even if today is going to suck from like what I have to do from a work standpoint, maybe at least we can bring a little light into this world with humor, some kind of humor. Most days require humor just to get through it. People that are serious and just think nothing of, they don't think about anything except money and the daily struggle and how are they going to pay their bills. Yeah, sure, that stuff sucks, and you know, you got to deal with the universe that we're in, where we're in this broken system that has us all like enslaved. No offense to those who are descendants of actual slaves, but I think humanity in general has been enslaved by the caste system anyway. And every once in a while I'll be like, you know what? I'm a workaholic. I need to stay busy. But there's a secret part of me that really understands the idea of just staying home and doing nothing but living off of a welfare check, you know? Those days are gone, though. I think welfare will be on the way out. And it's going to be a nightmare for those who have come to rely upon it, right? So maybe those who are workers are better off at least being conditioned to take daily abuse. That's what I call it. It varies, but I mean, there's some jobs are mentally draining. Other jobs are physically draining. And then there are some jobs that are both mentally and physically draining. And that's kind of like what my job is anyway. Because there's detective work and electrical work where you got to solve a problem and you're given, you know, you promise the customer that, hey, yeah, we can resolve this issue. We're going to do our best to resolve this issue in a timely fashion to save you some money, so it's not going to cost an arm and a leg. But sometimes you have to eat it if you don't actually find what the problem is within 3 or 4 hours. Then you're just like, hey, look, we're going to solve this problem. We need more time, but we're not going to charge you our hourly rate at this point. We're just going to get it done, make sure that you're safe, that your house isn't going to burn down. And but then there are other days where you're doing your electrical work job and you might get lucky occasionally. And like the easiest job I ever did was a little old lady didn't know about push button GFI outlets in her bathroom. So she had a circuit trip due to a hair dryer and a faulty cord on a hair dryer. And all I had to do was go in and push the button to reset it for her. And I told her we weren't going to charge her our full hourly rate for that. You know, she could just pay us cash if she wanted to, and for the visit and just for the what do you call it, lesson, maybe, I don't know. Knowledge is power. So if you don't have a certain set of knowledge in your wheelhouse, then sometimes you got to pay to learn, or you could be a college dropout. That's what I was. Okay, now it's time to write the gag. So what can we possibly write to pull this all together? Oh, I do know I definitely need to use my my brush again with my coffee, because the sculpture, I think, needs to sort of be separated from the sculptor. So the sculptor is a human, and the sculpture is an inanimate object, but I need to really differentiate here. There we go. This also kind of ties into mudway, you know, since the sculpture is like made out of fresh mud, and my coffee has definitely got a muddy vibe here. What? No, 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 no. Gemma, not while I'm doing the brush. No, no. 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 I do like it when a plan comes together, though. I mean, this is just my argument for always having coffee nearby, really. Gemma, what did I say? No. No. Gemma, no. No. Look at you swish your tail. You're bad. You're so bad. She's swishing her tail because she knows she's going to try it anyway. The word no is not in her vocabulary because she's a cat. This is the difference between dogs and cats. Dogs are more like military. Gemma, what did I tell you? Dogs are more like, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Whatever you say, master. But cats are just like, F you. I'm an independent thinker. You don't tell me what to do. I do my own thing. You're my, you're here for me, not the other way around. Gemma, what did I tell you? Okay. Oh, he's holding a little blob of poo. That's okay. Now, what to say? Right. Okay. Is it Rodin with an A? Rodin, Rodin. Oh, woe is me. The same old problem of lettering. I used to be so good at it. I got to tighten it up. Promise. Next Gag Master challenge, I will focus more on the lettering part. And if I've got to write it out twice and spend an extra 3 or 5 minutes repenciling it, then I shall. Okay. Not the best, not the worst. Somewhere fair to middling. But I do like the drawing. I just it's the criteria, you know. I'm sort of a purist in the sense that I'm going to go with what the Gag Master wheel says. Although I did just have certain characters and certain locations, so I don't want to repeat them so soon. But there's going to come a point in time where I actually have used up every character in every location, and then it'll just be a matter of different combinations, and that's where the Gag Master's 30,000, that number comes into play. 30,000 possibilities. I'm not a mathematician, but supposedly somebody worked it out that 30,000 different combinations on this Gag Master wheel. So I guess if we counted, we would say 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, there's a lot of things to count here, but you know, you have to multiply this number by this number by this number, and include the butter knife. I don't know. So we had sculptor. Correct. Not only did I include the sculptor, but I included a sculpture. We had forgetfulness. And we had city street. So there you have it. Sculptor, city street. And forgetfulness part is staggering home drunk. Rodin forgot where he was when the idea hit. So we're led to believe somehow that because he's at the intersection of Mudway and Water Streets, he had access to clay. I don't know. You're asking me? What do I know? I'm just the guy doing this thing. It's flying by the seat of my pants every night, and you're just along for the ride. Whoever you are. All right, let's turn this into a song now. That's going to be, I think, more fun for me than the actual brain squeeze that I just experienced trying to come up with something that was humorous, given the juxtaposition of our three prompts. But yeah, we're going to give it a go, and tomorrow's another day. So we'll just keep plodding along in the hopes that at some point laughter will ensue. Adios.